Welcome back to the Anker SOLIX channel. Now, most people assume that if two power stations have the same capacity, they'll give you the same runtime. I mean, it makes sense, right? You look at the number on the box, compare the watt hours, and think, bigger number, longer backup. It's simple. But here's the truth. That assumption is incomplete, and honestly, it's a bit misleading. Let's reframe what capacity actually tells you. Capacity tells you how much energy is stored, but it doesn't tell you how much of that energy actually reaches your appliances. I've seen units with the exact same capacity differ in real-world backup time by hours, sometimes even tens of hours or days. So today, we're looking at why that happens and how the new S Series from Anker SOLIX is trying to change the way we judge backup power. Let's take a look at where runtime gets lost. Think of battery capacity as a bucket of water. Every power station leaks a little of that water along the way. We call these system losses. In real-world use, energy loss in power stations mainly comes down to two things. The first is operational loss. This happens when DC power from the battery is converted into AC power for your devices, along with some natural resistance inside the system. The second is active idle power. Now, this is the less obvious one. So even when your devices, like a fridge, aren't actively running, the power station itself is still on in the background, slowly using energy in order to be ready to power those devices when needed. Now, this matters most for intermittent appliances like fridges or sump pumps. Even when the compressor of that fridge cycles off, the system in this is still awake, quietly reducing your total runtime over time. And that's why the same capacity in a power station does not always mean the same runtime from that power station. And actually, the gap becomes much more obvious under low loads. So let's take a look at this gap under low loads. Now, most mainstream units perform pretty well when you're pushing high loads, like a microwave or a hairdryer. But the real challenge, and where most power stations fail, is powering those low draw devices. Because when your appliance is only drawing a small amount of power, the system's own losses take up a much bigger percentage of the total energy use coming out of that battery. I mean, think about the essentials you actually need during a blackout. Your fridge, your lights, laptops, a Wi-Fi router, or a CPAP machine. All these devices often spend long stretches drawing less than 100 watts. Now, this is where the gap really becomes obvious. At a 100 watt load, the average system up till now has an efficiency only around 70%. That means on a standard 2 kilowatt hour energy unit, you might lose over 500 watt hours just to internal waste. I mean, you're paying for 2 kilowatt hours of battery, but you're only getting 1.5 kilowatt hours of actual use. That's where the Anker SOLIX S Series comes in. This specific problem is exactly why the S Series was created, to redefine long-lasting power, not just by stuffing more batteries inside or having a huge inverter, but by making the power you already have more usable, so you can get what you actually paid for instead of just paying for more. This is the Anker SOLIX S2000. It's the first real proof of the S Series long-lasting standard. It's built from the ground up around something called OptiSave Technology. So here's how the OptiSave technology actually changes the game behind the S2000. Now, everyone talks about battery capacity, but the real secret to long-lasting power is what happens when you're not using it. So take your fridge, for example. It doesn't cool nonstop. It runs in cycles, and during those quiet hours when the compressor is off, a typical power station is still burning over 17 watts just to keep the AC parts awake. And that drains your battery for nothing. But now, that equation is completely changed thanks to micro power management technology. The S2000 reduces that active idle power to just 6 watts. But the efficiency story doesn't stop there. When devices start drawing power, especially at light loads, most standard units drop to around 70% efficiency through their inverters. Now, to solve this, the hardware is rebuilt from the ground up with an advanced transformer architecture to minimize conversion loss from DC to AC. It's then paired with real-time adaptive control, which is an intelligent system that continuously optimizes your performance on the fly. The result of all this new technology is that the Anker SOLIX S2000 can maintain over 88% efficiency powering those small loads at 100 watts. And once you get up to 200 watts, it breaks past 90%. So you can see it's not just about building a bigger battery, it's about intelligent power that's optimized for real-world use so you can get the most out of that energy stored. Now, does all this advanced technology actually matter in the real world? Well, of course it does. In testing, the S2000 delivers up to 35 hours of fridge backup. compared to a typical 2 kilowatt hour power station that's roughly 20% longer runtime. So in a real outage, that's a difference between your food staying cold or having to throw everything out. It's essentially an extra night of power, and you don't have to just take our word for it. The S2000 is the first product to receive the A+ runtime certification from TÜV Süd, which is the highest international standard for efficiency in this category. A takeaway message here is simple. Stop judging backup power by capacity alone. The real question you should be asking isn't how much energy is in the box, but how long will my essentials actually stay on? The S2000 and its OptiSave technology are setting a new standard. It goes beyond raw capacity, delivering smarter, longer lasting backup exactly where it matters most, in the runtime you get from the battery. If you want to dive deeper into the technical specs of the Anker SOLIX S2000, check out the links in the description below. And along the way, don't forget to subscribe to the Anker SOLIX channel for more videos about the S2000 and its advanced OptiSave technology. Anker SOLIX, the only backup power you need.